Oh, hey, buddy, it's your old pal Scott, and this is Let's Talk Tabletop. I was thinking back to the golden days of Games Workshop when they were ran and owned by fans instead of corporate interests, and the relationship they had with the players. Now, I've been playing for about 16 years, and I've been a huge proponent of Warhammer over these years. It's been my main game for all these years. I own a convention that is primarily Warhammer. I have brought countless, literally dozens of people into the hobby through demos and through my library group introducing children to Warhammer and things like that. So, I am not a Games Workshop hater per se, but when I look back at when I started Warhammer, and that is not even what you'd consider the golden age of Warhammer, but even from my short experience in Warhammer of 16 years, I realized there's something pretty huge that Games Workshop has lost. Let's dive into it. So while their stock price may continue to soar overall, and their new sets may continue to sell out constantly, it doesn't mean the Games Workshop is winning, unfortunately. And basically, what I mean by that is that overall, I think there's a lot of economic or market interests that are going to be a serious danger to Games Workshop in future years, and they're already beginning to be a danger. Number one is 3D printers. I can tell you that 3D printers are going to be a serious threat. I know not all of you believe that, but it's the truth. And secondarily, is a multitude of independent games, whether skirmish or mass battle, and they are all competing against Games Workshop, and I believe they're slowly chipping away at the king on the throne. Obviously, one-page rules. Obviously, Trench Crusades coming out. Obviously, my mass battle game, Mass Brutality, just came out. And there's a lot of competition, more than ever, with Kickstarter and whatnot. But that's not really what this video is about. What this video is about is what Games Workshop has lost. And in the recent years, I've found myself less and less interested in Warhammer. Now, this is after almost 2 decades of being in it hardcore as my primary game and primary hobby. But I find myself less and less interested in it. And I see more and more videos, whether it be fear-mongering or what, I see more and more videos of people saying the same thing. Other content creators on YouTube that are saying the same thing where they don't enjoy 10th edition or they didn't enjoy 9th edition or Warhammer's dead or whatever you want to say. And obviously those are varying degrees of being dramatic, but I had to try to pinpoint exactly when I began losing interest in Warhammer. And I still play Warhammer. I still love Warhammer in general, but there's a lot that I don't like about it. But I find my interest waning. And my eye starts wandering to other games and things like that. And when that happens to someone like me, that's probably a serious issue because I was one of the most stalwart, hardcore fans of Warhammer. And it began when they started coming out with new editions every 2 years. Oh, it's a new edition every 2 years. Well, right there, that makes me lose interest because I don't even feel like learning your rule set because I've got wife and kids and family and hobbies and a convention and my miniatures game and all of that. I got way too much to worry about, and I hear that complaint from you guys more and more and more that your life is too busy to keep up with the constant FAQs, the constant edition changes, the constant codex releases, all of that. And that is what really began to wear on me is that I have many Warhammer armies, and to buy a new rulebook every 2 years at 50, $60 a pop is very expensive. Just to have access to the rules for the miniatures that I've already bought from you, that seems crappy. And the app, if I could just pay for the app and get the rules, then that's cool. But I have to buy the book and pay for the app, which seems so ridiculous to me and seems ridiculous to a lot of people. So what ends up happening is I buy a book and I get to play the army a couple times because I have many armies and I play Age of Sigmar and 40K. So if I, play once a week, I'm only playing 50% Age of Sigmar and 50% 40K, which means 25 games of each, right? Okay. And then I have multiple armies in each one of those game systems. So then I get to play each army maybe twice a year or something. So I get 4 games in before I have to buy a whole new book. And then that doesn't even include the FAQs. The FAQs are constant. It's a constant tidal wave, a deluge of FAQs, which I literally have stopped following years ago. Like when they started doing the constant FAQs, I just stopped following them. It was like about a year that I followed it, and I was like, oh man, I had to print out the FAQs and put them in my books and all that. And eventually I was like, you know what? I don't play tournaments anymore. I'm not following the FAQs. I'm not going to do anything with this book that's broken anyway, because that's not who I am. I'm just going to take whatever I like. And if it seems awfully broken, I'm going to feel bad about it, and I just won't take it anymore. So that's whatever. I'm not taking 3 of the nastiest thing or anything like that anyway. So the FAQs are really not geared towards me or my playstyle. So I stopped doing the FAQs. I just, whatever, if my unit sucks, it sucks. If it's good, it's good. I don't care anymore, right? Which is the way it used to be prior to, let's say, 8th edition 40K. Prior to that, your books lasted a lot longer. And I mean, when I was in 5th edition, I was still playing with a 3rd edition Necron Codex. Like, it's like you got a lot more use out of your books. So I hopped off the bandwagon with the FAQs. But then they start doing it every 2-year release cycle for the editions. And then I stopped buying the core rulebook because I know I can find the core rules for free online, and my friends will tell me any changes from edition to edition. So then they lost that for me as well, because I'm going to learn it through osmosis, right? Then they start doing the codex. Oh, you need a new codex for every edition, which means every 2 years you get a new codex. And me and my friend James both have a lot of armies. We were spending a ton of money on codexes. We eventually said, listen, this is unsustainable. We can't do this. So we eventually started sharing the codexes. We'd buy every other codex that we both had the same army for, and then we would just share it whenever we needed it. But even that became too costly. So then we just started getting the rules online for free. Websites like Wahapedia and other ones. We said, you know what? I don't care anymore. I can't keep up with this rat race. They're churning too much. They want too much of my money constantly. I can't afford this, right? So now I don't buy their rule books anymore, and I don't buy their codexes anymore. I use it for online for free. And what I've learned, I had to do some soul searching, because I'm like, well, why did I used to buy their codexes? And yes, I know the frequency is more common, the more frequent that they come out, but why am I losing interest in Warhammer? And I finally realized that what Games Workshop has lost from a lot of us players is faith. We don't have any faith that our purchases have any staying power. We don't have any faith that the book that I literally just bought is going to be useful in a month after the FAQs. You know, I bought the Imperial Guard book in, I think, 9th edition, and it was immediately FAQ'd to oblivion. And I'm like, well, what? Heaven forbid you bought a Votann book. Your Votann book was FAQ'd to oblivion as well. I mean, congratulations if you bought a World Eaters book at the end of 9th, and then 10th edition immediately came out. Like, it's just, it sucks. And this constant need for your money, while I understand it, they're a company, etc., it actually makes your players lose faith in you. Because if I buy a product, I feel like I should be able to use that product for as long as I like. Unfortunately, with the slaughter of Beasts of Chaos and the slaughter of half of my Stormcast army when they got rid of all the Sacrosanct stuff, and now I don't even have faith in your miniatures. It used to be that I could buy, what is it, an RB01 or whatever, the old Space Marine. I could buy an old Rogue Trader Space Marine and play it for 40 years. I could do that prior. And now, oh, well, yeah, a lot of the Firstborn stuff is going away. And even if you bought Liberators, which are like, what, 6 years old or whatever, from Stormcast. Stormcast is one of the newest armies in any Warhammer game. And, oh yeah, look, half of our line we're cutting down because we have too many miniatures. Well, that's bogus. Who made all these miniatures? Like, it was you. It wasn't me. I did my due diligence. I bought your books. I bought your miniatures. And then you just cut them and go, oh yeah, Sacrosanct, yeah, they're going back home. They're just like not feeling it. And I'm like, that's literally money that I spent and you are actively canceling and throwing away. So I'm not trusting in them anymore. I'm not confident that the rules I buy are going to have any value within a week because they'll be FAQ'd to oblivion. I do not have confidence that when I buy a miniature, I'm actually going to be able to use it in their game in a couple years because they cut my entire Beasts of Chaos army. I mean, the whole thing. So prior to that, I had a Tomb King's army, and they cut that completely. So it's nuts. So what we've really lost, and what Games Workshop has really lost from us, is our trust. Because we can't trust what they say. We can't trust what they do. We can't trust the product that they want us to buy. They want everything to have an expiration date. And even though people keep giving them money inexplicably at their exorbitant prices, they've lost my trust. I don't trust them anymore. And if I don't trust you, I don't buy from you, unfortunately. And that's just the case. Listen, I've spent plenty of money with Games Workshop. But I've told all my friends that I'm beginning my villain arc. So yeah, I'm not going to buy any more from Games Workshop, I don't think. So anyway, and you can say what you want about that, to be honest with you. I don't, it's neither here nor there. Everybody's got to make their own decisions. So, have you lost trust in Games Workshop? Because it sounds like an awful lot of people online have. And I'm one of them. Thank you to my beautiful, sexy, good-smelling Patreon patrons right here. Especially Leroy Jenkins. Leroy Jenkins is awesome. He's been a long-time Patreon patron, and I greatly appreciate him, as I appreciate all of these people. So, thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, all of the YouTube stuff. And come back next week. We'll talk some tabletop. Also, check out my miniature agnostic, genre agnostic, rank and flank or guerrilla style D6s or D10s. Create your own units how you see fit. My flayed ones are really good now that I can stat them out the way I want. Anyway, I'm also very against power creep or canceling your purchases. We are still in first edition of Brutality Skirmish Wargame, and that's been out for almost 5 years now. So just want to let you know that I do practice what I preach. I'll see you next week.